Morrow County Commission to order and start with allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item of business is our public comment. That's the time for people to make comments to the VOC. We'll start with those in the room, and we'll ask those on Zoom. And if we have comments, I'll explain the rules. If not, I won't. Is there anybody in the room that wants to make a comment? Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment? Please raise your hand. That's not a hand.
That's not, sorry, that's my cursor.
Don't see anybody, Matt?
No.
So, no public comments. Next item up would be consideration of adoption of the agenda. Do you guys have a?
Chair, one change on, under the department reports. Under Sheriff Snyder contacted me this morning. The sheriff's out and he's doing some camera training that's doing there. So he's respectively asked for his monthly report to be moved to the first meeting in August.
Yeah. Okay, any other changes? To accept with the deletion of 4F.
I move to accept the agenda as presented with the deletion of 4F.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is our department reports, and we'll start off with public health quarterly report. Robin, are you? There you are. She kind of came in last.
Just hi, I'm snuck in the back door. Good morning,
Good morning.
Robin Kennedy. Look how tall this chair is. Look, here we go. Alrighty. I put my department report in your packet there. So I just wanted to give you some highlights for this quarter. One thing I don't think I've done before is listed some of the things that we have available in our health department that I wasn't sure if you were aware of everything that we have, so I listed some there. So I just as a recap, our primary goal in public health is to make sure every household in Morrow County is safe, protected, and connected with services so they can thrive and be the healthiest they can be today and into the future. So raising families can be difficult in our current economy. And we have many programs or connections that can ease that burden. So I've listed several of them there. I don't need to run down the whole entire list because you can read it. But one thing we do have is a diaper bank. I don't know if people were aware of that, but we have several people that utilize that. And it's a donation through one of the local churches. They bring us diapers and we're able to help families out with that need, which is really nice. And also this is new to us, but we have a drug take back program now where we have bags if people are needing to rid their household of expired or unneeded medications. We can help with that as well. And then of course our standard vaccines and all of those things, and connection with WIC. WIC isn't under us, but they utilize our building and we partner with them, collaborate with them quite often. So we have connections with them for nutrition needs. And I wanted to highlight some community outreach that we did this past quarter. It was kind of interesting and something we haven't done before, but there was a Mexican and a Guatemalan consulate that visited Morrow County. I'm not sure if you were aware of that, but we had a table at both of those events and provided some education and vaccines and just made some connections with citizens and built those relationships. So that was really good. And we had to utilize our bilingual staff to go with us so we could communicate since there was a communication barrier, but it was successful and a good collaboration. Just to update on the ASA Advisory Committee. We held our second meeting in January. We're scheduled to hold our next meeting this month, next week, actually. So things are going well there. And we also participated in the Rethink the Drink campaign that's statewide, just to kind of raise more awareness to drinking and driving. So we're on board with that. Update on our school-based health center in Ione. We have not been able to provide family planning services out of that clinic for quite some time, just because we had to update some things, some certifications and stuff. And we've done those. It's been kind of time consuming, but we've got those up to date. And so we can offer some family planning services out of Ione. And immunization program. We are currently developing our calendar for fall when we give all our flu shots and stuff. We go out to a lot of businesses in the county and offer on-site flu vaccines. So that's quite a stretch for our small department, but and we also collaborate with schools. In our community outreach, you'll see we also participated in the Kinder Roundup at Sam Boardman when kids were registering for school, just to make sure kids are up to date on their vaccines. Update there on the nitrate / clean water situation for public health. So we have some open houses scheduled. I attached the flyers. In Boardman, it will be July 30th. There's going to be one in Morrow County and Umatilla County. July 30th will be in Boardman, and it's just a time to come together, ask some questions, get some information for well owners to come. And so that's from Wednesday, July 30th from 5 to 8 p.m. at Riverside High School. And on the flyer there, it shows what all will be going on there. So I have attached the stats for Morrow County as of the end of June. So wells testing above 10, we're at 290. Households receiving water, we're at 316 households that are receiving water deliveries. And 113 of the filtration systems have been installed. For well testing, I wanted to give you an update because this is pretty current, just within the last week or so. Umatilla, let's see, the Office of Resilience and Emergency Management was helping us, which is a state agency. They were helping us with some testing, well testing, and they're having to back off now that we're in a maintenance phase. They're kind of more for the emergent problem, and now that we're kind of at a maintenance phase, they're having to back off. So to fill that gap, Umatilla County has stepped in and is going to help us with some well testing in Morrow County. So their plan is to every other week come into Morrow County and do some well testing. So I just wanted to make everyone aware, if you get any phone calls, hey, somebody from Umatilla County was here testing my well. That's in the plan. So they're helping us out with that. And no contract to provide that service at this point. It's all under the Laquama state funded program Element 75. So it's all under that funding for now. We'll see. And family planning services, we just started in our triennial review process, and our reproductive health was the first one to kind of get evaluated, and we met all the requirements for that program. They just had a few recommendations, like how we can improve our charting, but other than that, that went very smoothly. So hopefully the rest of our triennial review goes smoothly. The next part of my update is a communicable disease report. And if you look at the report that I provided, it's January 1 through June 30th. So the first 6 months of this calendar year. And we're on track with pretty much everything. I don't know if anything stands out there to you, but what does to me is the rate of pertussis, which is not normal for us to have 10 cases of pertussis. And if you remember last month or so, Umatilla County had an outbreak of pertussis. So I'm pretty sure that was some fallout from that. We didn't have an actual outbreak, but we had some cases trickle into our county. Pertussis is also known as whooping cough. Can be really bad for young babies, children. So protection for that comes in our DTaP vaccine, which is a tetanus booster that has pertussis. So we do offer some protection against that. If people are wanting that, they can come and see us. I have the current job openings in public health listed. We have an opening for a clinic RN and a part-time Spanish translator. Other than that, we're pretty fully staffed, and there's our clinic hours once again. And that finishes my report. If you have any questions for public health.
Questions of Robin?
Just on the pertussis, is
Huh.
the Umatilla outbreak over? Are we
Yes.
expecting that to be? just-
Yes, it's
Okay, we've got-
settled.
We've had our 10 cases and we expect it to stay that way.
That's the hope, fingers crossed.
Okay.
And statewide respiratory illnesses are down right now from the reports that I get from OHA. But, you know, as we go into fall and winter, we usually see a rise in that. So this is the time of year that hopefully everything settles. But yes, we haven't seen any more sepsis cases. So that's the hope. The 10 is our final number.
I guess I just have a comment. Thanks for the list of what we offer. We offer a lot of good stuff. and I
We
just-
do.
Sometimes you don't always.
Yeah, that's-
Realize what you do, yeah.
That's what I kind of thought. Yeah. We do we have a lot of stuff going on that are just kind of behind the scenes that people might not be aware of. So. All righty.
Okay, well, thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, next up, emergency management report, Steve on Zoom. Oh, good.
Steve's right here.
Oh, no,
Steve, the better Steve.
You can wing it and give the emergency management.
You want me to say it?
You see him? We'll just, if he comes, we'll circle back. Okay.
and
Quarterly report, Glenn.
Chair, Lynn was, going to try to come in, up in if possible, or looks like you might have gotten a report from him.
Yeah.
Got a written report.
Okay,
Yeah.
before the meeting, he passed out his.
Yeah, he said he might make it, so, okay. So we'll just go with the quarterly report here. And juvenile report, Christie.
Good morning, commissioners. Christy Kenny with the Juvenile Department. You've probably received or should have a copy of the written that I submitted, but just to touch on a little bit of that. One of the big things I'd like to say is Samantha, my probation counselor, was given a senior probation counselor position, so it's a promotion. So I just want to congratulate her. She's been here a little over 3, almost 4 years. So she's been doing a great job in supervising all the youth we have and working with all of our community partners. So I just want to give her a shout out and say congratulations to her. Another update, we have our Juvenile Justice Conference that we hold yearly coming up in September. I did share this information with some of our community partners, CCS, the schools. I sent that to the superintendent, Matt. And so if you all would like to join or would like to attend, reach out to me. I'll be happy to get you the information for our juvenile conference, September 14th through the 16th. It's held in Eugene this year at the Graduate. Usually they have around 300-ish participants throughout the state with Juvenile Justice, Oregon Youth Authority, as well as sometimes our other community partners that attend. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I'll be happy to forward you the information and you can look at the agenda and see all the sessions if you are intrigued about juvenile justice, best practices, and some upcoming law changes and things like that. Otherwise, the Oregon Youth Authority does give the juvenile departments throughout the state some money each fiscal year and through the biennial plan. And just to let you guys know, right now, the Oregon Youth Authority had passed with legislators, the Ways and Means Committee for their funding bill, which means the county juvenile departments right now should not be expecting any reductions in receiving funding. With Oregon Youth Authority, we get, right now it's projected about $45,000 for the biennium. These dollars are used to help support paying for detention costs. In our plan, we've written like a restitution program. So if a youth has committed an offense and owes restitution to a victim, they can do some community service with us. We don't actually pay the youth, but they can do that community service and then we can pay the victim. And that way kids having a chance to earn some funds if they can't afford to, or their family can't afford to pay the victims. And then we also use some of that money to help pay for assessments, like psychological assessments, psychosexual assessments or evaluations, any treatment that kids may not be able to be covered by insurance. So that pot of money helps kind of for basic services for kids. Could even be clothing, An incentive program we set up, so if kids, don't necessarily want to engage in some of their probation requirements, we try to incentivize them. So sometimes the carrot works better than the stick. And so we've worked in, so I know an example is we had a youth who was really struggling maintaining attendance at school. And we actually were able to purchase like some one of her things was fingernail polish and getting her nails done. And that really incentivized her. She got her grades up, got to class regularly. And so it's kind of a positive to, help those kids get engaged in what they need to be doing. So those are some of the ways we spend those funds. We also get some funds from Department of Education. And right now, that's for like prevention dollars. And right now, we don't know what those funds look like. It's still up in the air on if there's going to be some reductions. Historically, we've gotten about $60,000 for the biennium, so about $30,000 a year. So we're waiting to hear from Department of Education if that's going to have any cuts in county level juvenile department receiving those funds. So at this point, we're still moving forward with at least our Oregon Youth Authority dollars, not having any reduction in being able to help those kids. So, and then just the referrals received for this quarter, just kind of giving you an idea of how many youth we've received referrals on and what type or what level of referral we've received for this quarter. Otherwise, we're still going great, working with all the kids we have, beautiful weather. So hopefully these kids don't continue to get into trouble this lovely quarter. So if you guys have any questions for me?
I would be interested in the conference.
Absolutely.
If you would send me that information.
Absolutely, yeah, I sure will.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Kristen?
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Next up for the 4E, our planning department report.
We're at the A team today. Good morning. Hat on. He thinks I'm mean because I asked him to take his hat off. So for the record, I'm Tamara Mabid, the planning director.
Stephen R6 GIS.
Yeah. So today I'd like to do three things. Just submit to you the written report and then defer to Stephen and Matt Kinney to give you an update on a really great project they're working on. And Stephen was going to take over the mouse. And then I'll end my presentation with some discussion about the new solar rules that Chair Sykes asked me to summarize. So I put a little thinking time into that. So that works for you.
Gave me a headache.
Okay,
I
well,
was kind of glad when you put that.
okay, well,
comment.
hopefully this is the ibuprofen you've been looking for. So. Or not, you might not be happy with that.
Unmute Matt Kinney.
While he's doing that, I'll pass out a memo that I put together.
Morning, Matt.
Good morning. Trying to figure out how to turn my video on here.
Do you want to start and kind of explain why we started this project about 2 years ago? I mean, you probably have to get people on it too.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, you might turn the video on yet.
let's see.
Go to host tools.
Oh, it says meeting cannot start because the host has stopped it. Oh,
Down the bottom, host tools, start video. Check that. And you're sharing the screen, so he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. Matt, you should be able to turn your video on that.
oh, helps if I open the shade. There we go. Okay, so yeah, as you guys know, I maintain the county surveyor records database, which currently is comprised of an Excel file and then PDF documents that kind of list all the surveys in the county, and they're organized by township, range, section, and so forth. It's kind of similar to how Umatilla County does it, and there's a handful of other counties that still do it that way. And for those that are familiar with Excel and navigating PDF documents, it's really not an issue. You can still find what you're looking for. but a lot of counties these days are moving towards a GIS-based research system. And it's more of a graphic representation of the surveys, overlaid onto tax lot maps and those kinds of things, aerial photos and that. And it provides a much more user-friendly method to research. And so I approached Stephen about the possibility of this and Tamara, and they were on board with it. And so this is kind of the first phase. Stephen's been working really hard on this, and got to give him a big thank you for all the work he's put into this, because it's, you'll see in a minute, it's just amazing. It's going to improve the research capabilities of myself or any other surveyor, in addition to anybody else in the county that's using this data. I think it's just going to be a lot more user friendly, and you'll be able to find things much more quickly. So I'll give it back to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so this is the landing page of the Survey Explorer for Morrow County. Deschutes County is kind of based off of something that we saw at Deschutes County, and Matt showed it to me, probably about a year and a half ago, and asked me if I could do this, but I was split between GIS and planning work, so a lot of the planning work was taken GIS stuff, but with me coming out of planning and doing strictly GIS, it's really opened me up to working with other departments to develop these tools.
He still helps in planning.
Yeah, sometimes. So yeah, this is the landing page. It's just your basic checklist. It's got some contact information for Matt Kenny, and I put a link in here to his website. So when you hit the landing page here, or when you hit the page itself, you see all these graphical representations. These are basically surveys throughout the county that have been recorded at some point in time. We're really focusing on the more recent surveys and partition plats. That's kind of feel that's what more people are looking for right now. So the way he has it now, the way Matt has it now, is you have to go in and actually click on a folder. You really kind of got to know what you're looking for. You got to either know the name of the surveyor, when the survey was done, with property location. With this, it's just really not user, it's not intuitive to somebody who doesn't know what they're looking for. So with this, if you just kind of have a general idea of where it's at, it's really easy to look these things up now. So for instance, Al Phillips did a subdivision about a year ago. So if you know where that's at in the county and you can find it, you can click on it. So these surveyors, you just click on them. So you click on this, and it's displaying kind of funky with the shared screen here, but it gives you an option to click to view the survey. And it links back to Matt's survey information. So it's really super fast. The other thing you can do is I've got different colors. So the different colors represent different types of surveys. If you open up the legend, there's surveys, partition plats, subdivisions, property line adjustments, and replats. I should probably change the color on the It's still in development. We're not 100%. We're not ready to, I don't think we're ready to launch just yet. But over on the left here, you've got this query function. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you can query by survey details. So if you know that you're looking for a subdivision, and you know who your surveyor is, you can hit apply, and it's going to give you a list of every survey that Ron McInnes has done with a subdivision. And so then you can open one of these tabs up, and it'll give you all the information, and then you can just click on the survey and it'll pull up. The other thing that we did, you can do by partition plat number now. So if you know the partition plat, you can search it through here. If you know it's in 2004. It'll list all the partitions that were done in 2015. just a really simple, really easy way to look stuff up. Subdivision name, if you know the name of the subdivision, you can come in here and click on it. Hit apply, and it'll also pop up. And if you click on this, it'll actually zoom in on the map to that subdivision. And then you can either click in here and get the information, or you can click on the actual subdivision. Get it as well. There's a coordinate, if you need to get coordinates. Coordinates. So I set up some bookmarks if we're looking for certain city coordinate. So all the municipalities are listed up there in bookmark as well. And then there's a standard measurement tool. You can figure out your distance, area. The other, there's some other layers in here too. So turn on tax lots about the ownership. So yeah, one of these days we'd like to incorporate ownership with the tax lot shapefile lot. I think we're one of, I think 2 counties in the state of Oregon that doesn't share ownership data with their tax lot information. I know Umatilla County, you click on a tax lot and it has the tax lot information, the ownership information, and a link back to all the assessment information. That'd be a really nice feature to have for the people more.
So what's the hold up here? This is, that information's held by the treasurer. He's, would like to still have it kept on the state thing. Or have you come in.
Misspoke there.
The assessor. I'm sorry. Not the treasurer. Yes. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, so once that's figured out, we should be able to get that information up there and share it. And it's very fast, intuitive, and super good tool for the planners. That way we know, because a lot of the actions that we do, there might be a different pathway depending if something's been previously partitioned or if there's a survey that has or has not been done. So it's a good tool. It's a good tool for everyone involved.
So how close are you to launch?
So Matt Kenny and I have talked about this. Currently I've got 573 surveys of some flavor, whether it's a subdivision or partition plat. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there, I think there's 2,500 in your system.
Yeah, you're in that range. Yes.
And these are, some of them I've found a way to automate the process of getting them up into the map, but this is all like one by one, georeferencing the survey itself and then physically drawing the outline of the survey. So it's a part by part. So it's 573 took me a little some time.
He started with reverse chronological order though, right?
Yeah,
So,
I started with most of the newer stuff. And there's some state data out there from Department of Revenue, some of the shape files that had a lot of the partition plots on there. And I could just, I found a way to upload those and make it automated a little bit more. So that's been helping. But yeah, it's been a process getting them all up there. The other thing that we are putting up here, and Matt, you're going to have to explain the survey corners, or the corner certificates.
Oh, the public land survey corners. Yeah. Which I think we've only got the 3 or 4 that I was able to get to you at this point.
Yeah. So these guys right here, this was a test that we've been doing, just figuring out how to display the information. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think the survey corners are it's a known point for the surveyors to use in the survey work that they do. I'm not a surveyor, so that's probably a really archaic explanation, but.
Are these the monuments that you maintain, Matt?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so these would be the monuments that would be covered under the public land corner fund. Virtually every section corner and quarter corner. So, every half mile, the original government surveyor set corners when they first sold the land to the public, and these are the corners that that are represented here. So every section, quarter, corner. We've only got 4 up there right now, and that's only because I'm providing these coordinates to Stephen as I have time. And these first 4 were our tests just to make sure that the coordinates that we were using came in okay, and they seem to be working well. So I just need to get on it and provide Stephen with some more coordinates, and then any corner that we have record of a surveyor reestablishing, they have what you call a corner restoration form, which I saw Stephen just pull one of those up a second ago. But it'll outline what was set, what was found, any references they set, and some of them actually have coordinates on the sheet as well. So for surveyors, it's a great tool. You know, that's usually where we start when we go and perform a survey, is we're going to look and see what kind of public land survey corners have been established or are existing in the area, and having a graphical representation of the entire section, just being able to click, and it's so much quicker than what I currently have now.
Yeah, and this is not it's not just a county only utility. I've got surveys within city boundaries as well. So it'll help the municipalities that just don't have this capability, don't have the GIS capability. And we're trying to do that across the board. I've put city zoning layers on our interactive map because they just don't have the capability to share it with their constituents. So with the caveat of the county doesn't have jurisdiction within city limits, check with the city just to double check, make sure that this is not the authoritative zoning layer for your municipality.
So as Matt approves a new survey, then you'll come to you and you'll upload it into this. Is that how?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Matt and I haven't really discussed like a workflow going forward, but that's something that we will do. Right now, let's just get everything that's out there on, and as I see that he's updated something or uploaded something new, I've been throwing it on there. But yeah, we'll develop some sort of interdepartmental. Hey, here we filed this survey. Go ahead and add it to our.
I think it's a great tool for the people to be able to use.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the information has always been there. It's just hasn't been easy to find it, to access it. You really need to know what you're looking for.
Well, which is almost the same as not being there.
Right. Yeah. It's almost
exactly.
It's almost detrimental, right? Like
If you have to navigate a maze to get to it, it's.
One point of clarification, you mentioned starting this 18 months ago. Is it going to take 18 months to get about 500?
Oh gosh, I hope not. No, I think I've said it's kind of an arbitrary number of 600. Once I get to 600, I feel reasonably comfortable. And on that splash page, I put like, this is not a finished project. These are not these does not represent all of the surveys or partition plats in Morrow County. Still check in. If you don't find what you're looking for, contact the survey to get that, or go to the surveyor's page. So I think 600 seems like pretty good. I think Matt and I both come with that.
And at 500, you'd get through at least a decade, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the part, really people are looking for partition plats. And if you go to the partition plats, if we go back 1993, and I don't think this is exhaustive. Partition plats. There's still some quality control that needs to go into it. Double check and see what we're missing. But like I said, right now it's just been a sprint, just trying to get everything up on. So
18 months seems more like a marathon to me.
Yeah, well, this didn't take 18 months to develop. This took me about 4 months now. We've been working on it.
Yeah, I'm honestly pretty impressed how quickly you put this together. It's given it's what you've had to do to draft each and every one of these individually. So yeah.
So Matt approached me like 2 years ago saying with a wish list, like, hey, like, can we do this? Dude, I've got way too much going on in the planning world. Tell Tamara to stop giving me zoning permits and maybe I can work on that. So, and this was kind of like the impetus of pulling me out of planning. Not pulling me out of planning, but taking the planning duties away from me, making me strictly GIS. So it's one of the things that is a result of that.
That's also part of the reason I wanted to showcase today. So a reclass, little reorganization, this is one of the products you get to see from it.
It's very cool, and I'm glad we're catching up with the rest of the state that has these tools.
Actually, I think we had, I think us in Deschutes County.
A lot of the,
Property owner.
the northwest part of the state has these things in place. Umatilla County hasn't done anything like this, and a lot of the other smaller eastern counties haven't done anything like this, to my knowledge. I do know Gilliam County has some of their survey information available on a GIS database, but it's not as robust as what we're creating here. So it's kind of hit and miss, but we're definitely, on par with, I think, what the rest of the state is working towards doing.
And at 2,000 square miles, that's a lot of surveys. There's a lot of large farm ground that's never been surveyed. You'll find old deeds with meets and bounds and no survey. But
I've
if-
seen some that say more or less. That's wonderful to be on. That's
Yeah.
more or less accurate.
Yeah.
One of the issues that I'm running into so I started to dig in because I got to shift gears every once in a while to keep my interest. So I started with some of the older stuff from like the 40s, and it references like old McCabe tree, or like the old, big oak tree is the corner marker. And I'm like, how do I find this? So it's been fun. It's kind of like a detective work going through and finding where these surveys are actually. And the lines have all changed since the 40s. So what's there in the 40s is not there now. So I've got a pile that I set aside that Matt's going to have to go through and just locate for me.
Yep.
On project.
Yep. Good research. Okay.
Any other questions?
Just again, I think it's great that we're getting these tools out there.
It's great work. It's also, just to give a little credit to the rest of the office, so it took some adjusting to wean Stephen off of doing land use, but he still gets to help with some of that and does all of the mapping otherwise too. So excellent, thank you. So if we're ready to move on, we can talk about solar. And if you'd like, we can, since Stephen's up here, he can pull up one of his work products is the interactive energy map. So Friday, Chair Sykes asked me, and Matt followed up with a call, if I could do an update on the new Eastern Oregon solar siting rules. I panicked a little bit because I'm still studying them myself, but I had to sharpen up my pencil. So what I have handed out to you, I don't have it to share with the public, but I anticipate this is the initial overview of those Eastern Oregon solar siting rules, and then work with Matt and Valerie to find another time to do a deeper dive work session on them. So in January, the Land Conservation and Development Commission adopted solar siting rules. And I asked to not be on that rule advisory committee because it was almost a 2-year process, took a lot of time. I participated in one of the meetings they had locally. I tracked it as best I could and realized that the final product is that's what we'll end up with. And if you recall, earlier this year, we did submit comments that the board signed. A couple of those comments were, we'd like to increase the local siting threshold, the acreage, and the other was, why make us opt out of a process? And we didn't prevail on either of those issues, I'm sorry to tell you. So what I'll do today, the memo that I gave to you, there are 3 options, I think, for the county to implement those rules. The first option is by resolution, the county can adopt, can choose to opt in or opt out of adopting new rules. So these are all in administrative rule, chapter 660, division 330130. We currently implement 38, and those are, if you go to Morrow County Zoning Ordinance EFU section, that's where you'll find those solar siting standards. And I think part of the impetus for the legislature directing the department, DLCD, to update these rules is they heard from solar developers that it's difficult. I don't, that's not a reflection, I think, on the planners. The difficult piece with the existing rules is after a pretty small acreage, the developers have to take an exception to statewide planning goal 3. And that's a pretty rigorous high bar by design. It's like a variance to a statewide planning goal. It's very subjective, so I think the development community felt like all the time and energy that went into that may or may not get them to where they want to be. And with the state has a very aggressive renewable portfolio standard, the state's doing all kinds of things to streamline the pathway for renewable energy development. Things happening on the federal level, that's outside of my bailiwick, but that's going to have a big influence on what happens. So of course, my role is to look at the siting standards. So we currently have implemented Division 38. If we can either opt in to say we'd like to directly implement the new division rules that are section 44 in those administrative rules. The memo I put together, I vetted a couple of times, and then just one of the lawyers who works with a lot of renewable energy developers gave me 15 minutes of her time yesterday to make sure that the assumptions I'm making were correct. And her advice was to think about if we opt into the new section 44 rules, to add that to the section 38 rules, because the new 44 rules might preclude some other projects that wouldn't meet those new rules. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So those are the two standards-based, if you will, ways to permit projects. And then the RAC and the commission came up with a whole new process, which would be through the statewide planning goal 5. And the two Commissioner Sykes and Winholtz, who sat on the planning commission, you approved more than a few aggregate quarries that had to be protected under goal 5. And either with a conditional use or without a conditional use permit. This would be similar to that process. Although the county, with some help, I would lean really heavily on Stephen and maybe some outside help. This is the piece I'm not sure in terms of staffing capacity, technical bandwidth, if we want to do it in-house or not. We'd essentially map all those locations that meet a certain number of metrics, like slope, soil, sunlight aspect, a few other things. And it's really the more comprehensive, truly planning process to say where in the county would those be ideally, and then you go through a process. It's complicated to do that. And the next time we talk about this, I might have a little bit more insight or a recommendation to pursue that option. So in summary about the new rules, on page 2, I just included the 2 tables that show the solar projects that are in Morrow County today. The top table shows those are permitted by FSEC, and the second table are those that we have permitted locally. There's a lot of withdrawals on there. And that's actually a reflection of just how difficult those rules are. It takes a lot of capital of various types to permit a solar project, even at the local level. So the next paragraph on page 3 shows the acreage threshold. So the first acreage, if you look on the left under section 38, which again is what we have in section 3.010 of our EFU zone, the local jurisdiction threshold would be 12 acres if the project's on high value farmland, 20 acres on arable land, and 320 on non-arable land. And then if you move just to the right, if we were to adopt and add section 44, it increases that acreage some. And then it's quite a bit larger if we were to pursue the goal 5. And then the table below shows what the state threshold is. The state ORS 469.300 did not change. So that is a whole different chapter in ORS that limits a local government's ability, the size of projects a local government can permit. And that doesn't change. So that graphic doesn't tell you a lot except to illustrate it hasn't changed. And I don't know if that would change or not. So on pages 3, the bottom of page 3, and the first half of page 4, I'm describing what those new siting standards are. And in a nutshell, there's a much longer list of siting standards that essentially adds to what's in section 38. Again, it's more comprehensive. It addresses impacts more. It has some what we call thresholds and siting criteria, and then standards. And those standards are in the middle of the page on page 4. So for example, if a project comes in and they're not in a priority wildlife connectivity area, they're not in a high use wildlife migration corridor, it doesn't contain primary unique soils, that's that first step of the evaluation an applicant would do. And then we'd have to have information that shows the topography or slope is 15% or less. It shows what they call a utility scale solar capacity of 19% or greater. Some of ours in our area are lower than that. And then a whole list of other things. So that's in a summary what 44 is. And then the bottom page is the goal 5 approach that I'm still getting my arms around, but I think the aggregate analogy is fair, except with this approach, it would have to be countywide, not landowner driven where you do project by project. And then at the very bottom, maybe that's what you're talking about, Chair Sykes. If you were reading that packet, you may have gotten a headache because it was a lot to read. And then the presentation slide. So
not only a lot. I read it twice and still I thought, oh, just email Tamara and see if she can sort all this out.
that's some job security for me, by the way. So that's okay.
One question I have is when we're planning on a work session on this.
Yes, but you asked for an overview, so I took a little
Yeah,
bit.
no,
off there.
I'm
Okay.
glad we did. I did ask for this.
Yeah.
I was just thinking down the road is on our options.
Mhm.
Are you planning on like making a recommendation to us?
I can sure do that, sure, yeah.
And maybe, I don't know if it makes any difference or if you already addressed it, but give us an example of the solar sites that have already cited here. And if we adopt number 1, how would that have impacted the siting? The siting, how it proceeded, how I don't want you to go overboard, but just to give us an idea of moving forward,
Okay.
what it's gonna do to solar.
Yeah, excellent ideas. We can do that without like reinventing the entire application. It
Right.
might be a big mapping exercise.
Right.
I also, if we have a work session, I wonder if you might be interested in inviting some folks, like maybe our local Fish and Wildlife, maybe some folks from the farming community, some folks from the solar industry, like Elaine Albridge, who has represented some of the solar developers in our area
Yeah,
and elsewhere.
I'd like to hear from them and kind of leave it up to you, because you know more a lot of times who all gets involved in this
Okay.
process.
Chair Sykes, we are planning on a work session for August 6th, talk to Capital a little bit. Would you like to pair that with it? Would that be too soon? The other
See what, how,
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
3 weeks.
3 weeks. I think we can pull it together on our end. I'm just not sure about everybody else's schedule because of summer travel. And we actually have until the end of the year to make a decision.
Yeah, I saw that. But what we could do maybe is just tentative plan for August, and then if you say,
Okay.
hey, let's give us some more time, because
Okay.
this is, to me, super important in Mon County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Am I misreading it?
No, I think it's important.
Maybe not
Again,
super.
well, your adjective works really well. I have to try to be objective. But again, what's happening at the federal level is gonna have a huge influence on new projects.
What I see on the federal level is we've got a 2-year window before everything suddenly will slam. And so for me, I would like to see us get our ducks in a row as fast as we can. Because based on what has been passed, we're gonna see a massive change in 2 years.
Okay.
But that's based
Yeah.
on what's currently there,
Yeah.
so.
And there's no harm, I mean, we can certainly start that legislative process sooner. So if by resolution you don't opt out, which means the Division 44 rules become effective, I mean, we could start that legislative process, today if you wanted, where we put it in line, we send our notice to DLCD. Actually, I wouldn't have things ready today, but we could send our notice through, and then before it comes to a formal hearing, we would have this work session. So we would be in line implementing the Section 44 rules before the beginning of the year. Because I do think there are some solar developers out there who are waiting to submit applications to us pending this. Also, there was other legislation that passed in the legislature that would influence the timing of some solar applications.
Right. And then touching on what Gus said, on the national level, the tax breaks.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that they're gonna see a bigger push we're gonna see more applications sooner than we might? That's one of the reasons I was wondering about getting our handle around this. Do you think that's gonna happen, to try to make it in under the deadline?
I don't know. I mean, mine would be a guess, maybe. I mean, if you're living out there where you think folks might have solar, and they think that they can get in the queue for those tax breaks, some of those projects already permitted have to start construction to still qualify for those tax breaks. And waiting in line for a queue on transmission is a big issue right now. I can't speak intelligently about that, just acknowledge that it's a real significant factor in starting construction day. So for example, the Pine Gate Renewables has been approved by the state, approved by us. They've submitted their request for amendment to segment their project into four different pieces. And a lot of that has to do with timing of capacity of transmission and construction of a substation there. So it could be some projects qualify for subsidies with a couple of phases and maybe not other phases. The business end of it, I know less about. Commissioner Winholtz might know more about. I mean, you could speak to the transmission capacity is a major thing, and then bringing it onto the grid is a whole different thing than having firm power on the grid.
One of the hangups is transmission capacity. The Wheat Ridge line is pretty well subscribed out with what's there, and so you'd have to have another route up to connect the PPA, but then it's being in the PPA queue to interconnect to the PPA freeway is another thing. I know that I understand the point or concern about the tax subsidies going away, but when you have Oregon, Washington, and California saying that you're gonna have to be carbon free by 2040, they're gonna move forward. It just means that cost of power is gonna be more expensive. If you have to purchase something and it was being subsidized before and the subsidy's going away, price is going up.
So it would still be in our interest if we could have it done sooner so that we would benefit from the subsidy. That's my.
By the county would be a faster process than through FSAC.
Much, yep, that's right. And
So that's through FSAC, they can still get to yes. It's just that it's a 2-year process to do it, and the county process,
150 days, max.
But it's,
And a lot cheaper, yeah, a lot cheaper. Yeah, smaller projects, because our threshold is smaller, and again, we asked to increase that threshold, and I don't know, that might be a legislative fix eventually. The county might want to work with AOC on, and Brandon Persinger was really active on the RAC also and just consulted. And Umatilla County wasn't on the RAC either, we just, both counties are slammed with all kinds of development and couldn't act, and we by far have the most solar in the state, so we had other folks,
well, I know that the people from Korea that were
Uh-huh.
following and involved in it, they were not impressed with the whole process.
and
They
they're,
thought that the outcome was predetermined before they, started.
yeah. Yeah, and they were, yeah, I'd like to explore the goal 5 option, and kind of what that means. I'm not sure. I think with Stephen's help, we could look at what an existing project would look like under the section 44 rules or a portion of a project. The goal 5 piece, we could get some of those tools off of our recess. So we'll see what we can come up with August 6th. There's no harm in having a second work session. And then maybe after August 6th, you can tell me to green light adopting those rules early or wait till the first of the year, whatever you choose. So. Excellent. And if any of you have people at the Wheat League, forgot her name, Amanda was very active with these. I mean, if you want me to extend the invitation to her,
I say I would leave that up to you because you have more contact with the people that touch on these issues. And anybody that might be also, it'd be a two-way street,
sure,
they might want to tell us something.
for sure.
We could ask them things, and they could ask us things.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, thanks for asking. It just made me sharpen my pencil a few weeks before I was ready to do it, but it's over and done. It's good. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I could point out Career Sykes, saw the binder that Camera and Planning Group has created just for these new solar rules. It literally is a binder, and so distilling it down to this digestible morsel was a fun homework assignment for her, but just want to tip my hat to
Oh, yeah.
them responding so quickly to your request.
No, I tried to read it. Sure. Okay. So now we have 4G, right? And the loop. Stephen. Ready for you.
All right, I'm Steven. I gotta remember that. Steven.
Yeah, no, you're not. Steve will be emergency services.
Perfect. How we doing today?
Good.
So that's a lot of really important information. So I don't know if this is as important, but I'll
It
share it.
is.
I'll share it. So it's always easy to come up here, right, when there's easy news to share. If we start by looking at our charts on the left, demand response rides is about the same as it was during Q2. Remember, Q2 is when, prior to me coming on, end of Q3 is when we changed to having our new fixed route system and some of our less demand response. So it's really promising to see that during this last quarter for our demand response, we had nearly as many rides as we had prior to the changes, with utilizing 50% less resources. So, when you're out in the community and potentially you hear someone say, I can't get a ride on van service or on the loop anymore, that's technically not true. We're doing as many rides as we ever were. We just don't have as many vehicles doing it because we're scheduling them better.
That is good information here because secondhand, I'd heard that. So.
Yeah, but prior to that, we told people no before too, right? Because there wasn't space. It's just, and it's just different. And so, and that's not to say that number will stay the same, because it depends where the trips go and how well we can book them together. That number will always fluctuate, but there isn't a drastic difference. Because instead of having a staff member that say, sitting in the Tri-Cities for 4 hours for a doctor's appointment, they're now being able to pick 3 or 4 people up in that time frame. So that's great for moving people within the county. Our fixed route ridership continues to blossom. So 40 before I got here, 252 the quarter that we kind of were just promoting that we had fixed route. And then since the changes, over 1,000. I thought it would take a little longer than 2 months to get to 1,000, but it's tremendous to see that the community is using it, and that's promising for moving forward. So overall total ridership between the two groups went from 619 during the third quarter up to almost 1,500 during this quarter.
So on your fixed route, is there a route that's being used more than others, or
Boardman gets used the most.
the Boardman Circular?
Correct. It's the most convenient. It has the most frequency. We are seeing a lot of, from the north side, people going from Boardman and Irrigon to the Walmart Good Shepherd. We're seeing less and less of that from the South County. There still is ridership, but the majority of what our Morrow route is, which is the one that takes south to Walmart, the majority of the ridership when we're looking at our counts is actually the people coming back from Walmart to Boardman and Irrigon. We do still have some movement within Hefner, which was the purpose of doing kind of a loop through there. So there are people who are getting on the bus, say at Willow Creek, and going to lunch down at St. Pat's. There's people that are getting on and dropping off at the pool. So there is people that are using it just even within Hefner. But one of my things that I've started developing for our strategic plan moving forward, and I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag a little early because I don't know if it will be, I'm trying to find a way to make more of the connection from south to Hermiston, or maybe it doesn't make that full loop to Boardman, because there's not a lot of people who are in Hefner that we're seeing are trying to make it to Boardman. Right? They're really trying to get to the larger area of Hermiston. And so if I can make that connection up there and kind of have the north route and a south route doing this versus two big loops, then I can get more frequency in, and that would provide more people opportunities to go up there, get what they need to get done, and come back. That's what I'm hoping to do in the near future. Some of the other things that have been happening, regulatory, we had our ODOT and RLS, I call it a compliance audit. They call it a compliance review. They tell you what you're doing wrong and you have to fix it. That sounds like an audit to me. So you can see on here, 2019, we had 23 findings we had to fix. 2023, we had 18, 2025, it says 4 to 6. That's because we haven't got the final report yet, and there's a window to be able to fix some of them. I expect there to be 4, but they haven't technically said that yet. So there's between 4 and 6. They had nothing but glowing things to say about the changes in the last year, specifically to the finance department and how they're calculating. A lot of the findings we previously had were from the lack of communication between the loop and finance, or the learning curve, right? It's all relatively new from a public transit standpoint. And then the information that we have to publicly share, we weren't sharing well. So all of that stuff's been finding. I don't know if anybody in here is in here. The auditors actually said that they came prepared to be really, really upset and frustrated, and they left like beyond, like, this is somewhere we never even thought we would see with Morrow County getting into this situation. And Tammy from finance sat with us for 1.5 days and was able to answer all their questions. The majority of like the larger findings that we have are just because we don't have the new software implemented that Kevin's already working on getting, that will take away those findings next time we have the compliance review. So super kudos. Like I said, both ODOT and the review people were exceptionally satisfied. So it's nice to see that we're making that transition. Partnerships. So Irrigon Parks and Rec has decided to use our public fixed route to take kids to the swimming pool daily. So 4 days a week, we're transporting up to 20 youth every day to Hermiston to swim, and then picking them up and coming home. Obviously our buses hold 14 people. So every day, Monday through Friday, we put a second bus on that route. It's called an overload vehicle, just to accommodate the rides. They shared that, saving them about $20,000 for the summer they could put back into their program. And it's benefiting us because, right, that bus costs us the same whether one person's on it or 100 persons. And that's the point of public transit. So it's exciting to see a community partner use it in that way.
Well, I mentioned ODOT likes to see
Ridership.
those days, so.
Yeah. So next quarter, we see this huge boom in July. That's why it's a whole bunch of youth riders. Got support with both Irrigon and Boardman continuing to put up bus stops. So Boardman's got all the stops we've asked for on existing infrastructure up. Irrigon has all the equipment they need to put it in the ground. There'll be 8 stops here in Irrigon that will be posted. We have, I think, 11, but some of them we're not fully sure we're gonna stay in those locations. So we don't want to invest the resources to put a pole in the ground. We might modify the route slightly. In addition, the Port of Morrow is currently trying to give me their 8 bus shelters that they have. They don't want them sticking behind one of their buildings anymore. The city of Boardman's willing to put the work in to put the shelters in place if we buy the concrete. I don't need 8 bus shelters, out and about. So we're working on where there could potentially be a possibility for maybe 1 or 2 that are high frequency. Like one of the thoughts is potentially in front of the Boardman Rec Center. Being that it's a high frequency area, it's a place we'll always serve. It's a place that has level ground that'd be easy to put a concrete slab down. So we're still in kind of the development process of that, but we might be able to be gifted some transit resources that people usually have to buy. With Matt's support, we were able to donate some of our old vehicles that are out of service life. He's donated 203 to the neighborhood center there in Hepner, and we've got 2 or 3 more vehicles right in the works, Matt, to hopefully get off the books.
Part of that was based on commission suggestions where for the neighborhood center down there, we should look at the food pantries up here. We have had one response and we're looking to secure that as well. These are just with the ones that were secured with county funds, not grant funds, and they have that span.
Yep.
The others will be surplus as normal.
Correct. So that's all great to have a resource that we can then share with someone else. City of Pendleton had a bus accident and lost one of their large capacity buses. Happens to be that I would like to get rid of one of our large capacity buses that we don't ever use. We have one vehicle that requires a CDL. I only have 22% of my staff that can, one of them is a part-timer that can drive the CDL vehicle. The bus is kind of too large for our streets. So we've worked with ODOT and the TAC has approved that we can, and with Commissioner Winholt's approval as part of the TAC and Matt being part of it as well, to hopefully sell this large vehicle to the city of Pendleton, who will need it before roundup time. This is kind of a win-win. They get a total loss, they get their vehicle back quick before insurance can provide that to them. And we retain the rights of that vehicle. So when Pendleton's putting the miles on the vehicle, once it's reached its useful life, we actually get the replacement bus from ODOT still. Plus we get the money that they pay us for the bus to be able to hold in a bus reserve for any future bus purchases we need. And since I've been here in the 7 months, we put the bus on the road once. That's how infrequent we use it. It's just, it's not necessary for the ridership we have and the roads we drive on. So we're hoping to get that finalized by early August because they'd really like to get the bus on the road because they only have 1 bus for a 2 bus system right now. So, that kind of moves forward. Operations, we kind of talked about the numbers, but I did want to mention we had a single day record of 62 rides on May 30th, which is exciting, except on the 7th of July, which I know is technically this quarter, we had 83 rides. So that wasn't a record for long. And it can show what a summer youth program can do to your ridership by instantly jumping at 21 rides. So that's exciting. We've taken the bus barn off of our books here in Irrigon. We no longer need to use that resource since we've kind of centralized our location to Boardman. So that's money that we can then put back into the program. July 1st did mark the beginning of our opportunity. I guess not an opportunity, but where we now have $600,000 less funding than we had previously had. All these changes we've done are based off of the finances that we were expecting moving forward. However, I'm going to be watching our quarterly dollars spent really tightly through the next couple of years. Cause we know we have enough money to run the 2 years, but we really need to build a surplus to have carryover money into the next biennium. So I'm just planting that seed that at some point I may have to come back and talk about maybe reductions of service if we see that the financial plan isn't working as expected. I hope that's not the case, and I don't expect it to be, but I also don't want to come and just share a surprise if that's what ends up having to happen. We ran a 2-week demonstration route in Boardman to the West Galena area to see if there was a little expansion we could do to provide more service. During the 2 weeks, we had 1 rider, so it obviously wasn't deemed necessary to expand to that area. However, twice a year, we're gonna try to look at little areas to expand to as all of our communities grow, just to make sure that we're continuing the proper coverage for the people that are coming to the communities. And then lastly, we have, we talked about going live with iTransit Northwest and being able to track our buses on route in real time. We now can. So if we go to itransitnorthwest.com, all of our routes are on there. It will show where the bus is at what time, what the schedule is. We haven't advertised it yet because we really want to make sure before we do that what we've uploaded and what they're showing is actually correct. So, but here in the next week or so, we'll really be pushing that. Paper copies of your schedule are great, but at any time, at any moment, you should be able to pull up your phone, go to the app and download it, or to the web browser and see our routes. So Matt brought it up here. So there under routes, you click that little double arrow on the right, horizontal arrow.
Yeah, just 1 second. This one?
Yep. Oh, there you go. And then Morrow County. And then down there, if you hit, say, the Amarillo route, that's the schedule. And then if you go back and hit that part,
Not pulling up the maps yet. looks like.
it's, yeah, well, scroll down again. Because we're on College Place for some reason. I wonder if we left. There we go. Now go up to. Go ahead and click on it again. There we go. And so those big yellow circles you'll see are the time points, and the biggest yellow circle you see is the actual bus. So the bus currently right now is heading back to the office before heading to the south side of the highway. So if you happen to be on Coonsey Road at the bottom of the map there waiting for the bus, you'll be able to pull this up and see where the bus is at. Or if you don't want to be outside because it's cold or too hot, you can wait in your house and say, okay, they're around the corner. Now I'm going to run out to the bus stop. This will be a great tool for everybody to utilize. Just some of the last couple of things that came up recently. I'm sure you guys are aware, but ODOT and the layoffs. ODOT reached out to me and reminded me that 483 employees were laid off. 8 of those were transit related, but primarily they wanted to make sure regionally we understood that during inclement weather that a lot of our rural highways will only be on a schedule of being plowed 1 day a week. So we'll make sure that we adjust our inclement weather plan in the event that happens. Today is Rural Transit Day. As someone who hasn't been long in Rural Transit Day, I didn't know there was a Rural Transit Day until a couple days ago. So with the inability to necessarily plan anything, we're using it as an opportunity in our building to kind of as a driver appreciation day. We're having pizza for the drivers, ice cream. Anybody's more than welcome to come over and see our building and have some food or some ice cream if you're interested after the meeting or if you have time. I hand wrote a note to all the drivers specifically with the message reminding them and letting them know what I appreciate them about them being part of the team and what they do. Can't even read my own writing here. Oh, and I recently met with a lot of the Region 5 transits. So Baker City, LeGrand, Kayak. And I introduced that, and they agreed that we should start working on creating a strategic plan regionally for transit. So we have a document as we're building and modifying our own routes to be aware of what the other transit agencies are doing to hopefully make connections. When there's funding available, we can work together to identify who best fits that funding, say for connection services along freeways and highways. Everybody thought it was a great idea. I asked our ODOT region representative if she could take the lead on it. None of us probably have the bandwidth, so it's something that we wanted to make sure, right? Supporting Morrow County is right, our objective, but there's definitely people within Morrow County who need to go beyond our county. And we want to make sure that those public transit resources are available for them beyond. So, one of the key pieces that's missing currently that both myself and Sean at Kayak have talked about is the piece from Morrow County, the Boardman area to the Dalles. From the Dalles, there's public transit the rest of the way, but there isn't a connection service to get you beyond that corridor between. So we're both actively trying to see what opportunities might be available to find funding to provide that, so that we can have that resource for people who need to move beyond westward. Other than that, I think that's it. I feel like I talked a lot, so I'm sorry.
You had a great report.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes,
I
sir.
known it was Rural Day, I'm gonna wear my new hat I got.
Oh, yeah.
Say thanks for the swag. you know.
No, absolutely. It was under $20.
Also
And-
National Hot Dog Day.
Which is probably more well-known than rural transit.
The only other thing I'd like to comment is my comments about the loop were probably number one when I met the public, and they have dropped to almost zero. And I appreciate your efforts getting out to the public, explaining to them. They don't always get what they want,
Yeah.
but you explain to them what is happening, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
It's probably not always easy for you to hear, but
No, but that'd be,
from my perspective, it seems to be running much smoother, and the public is informed, and I know you've been out there, so.
well,
appreciate that.
absolutely, I always would prefer to know the why, and whether I like the why or not, that's up to me, right? But if I know the why, then at least I can understand.
Yeah.
So appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We got our justice court here, justice of peace, so did you want to go ahead and give your verbal?
Yeah, just gonna give a real quick verbal here.
Yeah.
I'll be quick. I've got arraignment brought up too. In a nutshell, justice courts, we're seeing an increase in both traffic as well as criminal cases. I think Justin can attest to that. It's moved up quite a bit. We used to see just a few arraignments a week, and now it almost seems like it's daily now. So I think that's a testament to the warmer weather. People start going out and doing things and making poor choices, but it's also a testament to all of our law enforcement is getting further up to staff, and they're being very vigilant. And keeping with that, an interesting thing today with today's traffic cases and everything else, we had 4 additional people that obtained their driver's licenses. So that's still compounding. We're getting more and more people that are becoming lawful, educated drivers. As you know, Robin Jones will be retiring for September, and tomorrow we'll be conducting our first series of interviews for her replacement. One of the things that this has done, though, that I'm bringing up, and I was hoping that we'd maybe hear something about where we're at on the wage study, because my senior clerk, who's been with the county for 10 years, is making will be making $29.83 when she gets her anniversary. Her daughter just started an entry-level court clerk position for municipal court in Hermiston, and she's making $31 an hour, plus bilingual pay. And the position we have open right now is an entry-level clerk, significantly lower than that. And we're already hearing, we're really listening more now because we have an opening. We have only 4 applicants. And I've heard several people have stated to, I'm getting this third and fourth hand, telling me, so-and-so wanted to come work for you guys, but couldn't afford the pay cut. So I'm really hopeful that our wage study and everything will take all of our competitors and everything into account consideration on that. But that, to me, when I found out that my senior clerk's daughter is starting off making, $2 an hour more plus other incentives versus a tenure employee, it's kind of like, ouch. So other than that, we're still just plugging away. We finally this year got our new computers, and that has resolved a lot of our issues. And we're working with Kevin to look at, hopefully in the not too distant future, once the county comes up with their new system for budgeting and everything within the county.
The ERP system.
CRP, that we can have a system that will tie into it and we get out of our 1980 dot matrix program.
Are you excited about
If it materializes, absolutely. Everything I've heard from some of these new systems that we're still not quite a part of, but hopefully, and I know Kevin's fully aware and going to make sure that things will integrate, which will save a lot of time and make everything much more expedient and make that information that Kevin will need much quicker and readily available.
Okay, any questions, Glenn? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have payroll, so I heard report. And treasurer's monthly report. It's Jenny, she doesn't usually get. County administrator update.
Yes, Commission, thank you for the opportunity to present. I've given a written report, a couple highlights. We are covering for the HR director. We do have initial phone interviews starting tomorrow on that position. We did have 10 applicants. I believe we have 5 or 6 that we're doing with the first round. With that, there'll be an initial phone interview, and then I have a small committee that will be interviewing serious candidates at the end of this month, and hopefully, we can have an offer sometime in the first part of August if these candidates look good. We're going through several other hiring ones. Judge Dill just mentioned his fair manager. They just had 4 interviews yesterday. We'll have another one Friday. So they're hoping to get that in place first part of August to be able to look over the fair and such. So that's going well. Mindy's doing very well holding down the fort. Appreciate her efforts, and as we look through that. Other items, just to highlight, courthouse project. I did go to the Hefner City Council, did a small presentation on the layout, impacts, and schedule. I did show some visuals on that, and had a pretty good response. One of the requests they had was to be able to sit down and kind of have a walkthrough of how the building's going to be as an informational basis. And so I'll be touching base with our design team to see what we can schedule with the city council there. Also, just to let you know that our design team will be before you as the commission on August 6th with just an update showing where design's going out and where we're looking at for there. I have several projects going on at the fair and at the parks, and so was able to review several of those. A couple items just to make note. July 21st and 22nd, this next Monday and Tuesday, are our strategic retreat in Hefner. I look forward to your participation in that. We will have a report by the consultant just a little bit later in business items. Also, July 30th, we have the suicide awareness and prevention training being provided by CCS. This was brought up a couple months ago as CCS provided that, and so we're looking forward to having that. We have 2 sessions that will be presented. Also, a couple things that I just wanted to note that weren't in the written report. First, we just received notice that as part of the state cutbacks, that the Albert sensor that is a intruder detection system for our networks, that has been provided by the state, specifically through the county clerk, but helps provide our network it's doesn't stop intruders like a firewall. It just indicates some hostile item, flags it, lets our IT know to investigate. State's no longer going to cover that, and so we are looking at how to cover that. But that's one of the items of state cutbacks that we're first seeing on that. So we will be looking at that. That's about a $13,000 a year cost. Nothing major, but something that we'll have to pick up, and we definitely want to keep that up. Also, just to let you know, I've implemented a new meeting with the elected officials, non-commission elected officials, where on the Tuesday before BOC meetings, we just have a short 30-minute meeting to review the agenda, let them know if they have any questions, and then inviting them there. It's been well received so far. We've had it just 2 times so far, but it's seemed to be very well received on that. We also since we have 3 weeks before the next meeting, we have a couple items we'd like to take care of in a timely fashion. Would be asking for a special session next Wednesday, very short, probably facilitated via Zoom. We've got the revised contract for ERP with the new consultant and another item, so it should be a very short meeting that we'd be asking for on that. Last item to note that's not in here is in the previous port board meeting, there's some comments about the county having not paid up on their invoices for CDA amounts. We heard about that. I know a couple commissioners got calls on that, and appreciate the work. Our finance director, Kevin, and I both jumped in, reached out. To our knowledge, and at this point, we have no unpaid invoices from the entities. It does appear like there's some outstanding invoices that have not been sent, but everything we've received, we have processed and it has been paid. So because of the transitory nature of the CDA property right now, there's some questions about who needs to get billed what. I have reached out to the CDA managing director, and he is looking to have a meeting where the ports executive director, finance person can meet with Kevin, myself, and Greg Smith to review and make sure that everything's where it should be, and that we don't have any confusion on what has been or what hasn't been paid. And so we were efforting that for last week. Wasn't able to be pulled together, but Greg Smith's working on that for us. So just to let you know, since that came up in a public meeting previously. And the rest is in the written. Is there any other questions?
Do we have a date set for our next West Glen outreach? We had talked about August.
It will be in August. I do not have that set. That's something that I'd really like to get established before the 1st of August. I'm looking for next week as a target date to have that date set. We also have efforts for doing a walking invite with Rev, our community outreach group, and myself being part of that. Those have not been set. I should have those dates this next week, and be happy to send an email to the 3 of you, just letting you know when those are, so we don't have to wait until the August 6th meeting.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any questions? Well, before we move on, I'd like to kind of acknowledge a former county commissioner here and a court member and a grill fire. Are we getting critiqued? I feel like no, I just want to welcome you. You've been involved with county government for a long time, so.
Thanks, and the reason I'm here today on the strategic planning the listening sessions that the county did. I was a volunteer to attend many of those and I'm just here while Matt Dixon is going to remotely give his presentation and can provide my perspective on any questions that you may have on clarity or something else. That's the reason I'm here.
That's an honorary department report. No, we appreciate all the service you did.
Thanks.
Over the years. Okay, next we'll go on to our consent agenda. Does anybody have any, commissioners, have anything they want to pull out of there and talk about?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Move in second, and any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I'm gonna call a short 5 minute. Not a long one, a 5 minute. Okay, call the meeting back to order and we'll next up. We'll start with our 6A with our business items, adoption of ORD 2025-02 and adoption of final findings of 3 Mile Canyon Farms rezone and plan amendment. That's me.
Hi, hopefully, let's see, I think online, Steve Pfeiffer and Megan Lynn, are they online? That's Lynn, M-E and P-F-E-I-S. So before you today, it's been 4 weeks and we have to have a second reading of an ordinance no sooner than 2 weeks after it's been approved. So for the record, Tamara Mabbott, planning director. So the Board of Commissioners on June 18th approved the 3 Mile Canyon Farms 4-part plan and zone amendment application to rezone the almost 1,300 acres and do a zone swap with that. So before you today is the second reading by title only of ordinance 2025-02 and also the findings for that decision. There were, I'm supposed to identify any minor changes. So we changed the dates on the for today, so it reflects July 16th. We changed the ordinance number, so our cut and paste was corrected. It's 2025-02. And I think those are the only changes we made. There might be one where I'm not remembering what it is, so.
Okay, so we, and the title is on the declaration there, is that it?
It is ordinance amending, yes.
All right, and do we usually put that reading in a motion to?
No, I think we're just doing the reading of the title only of this, and then the motion to approve the final findings of fact, and then a motion to adopt.
Was this, okay, so it's a hearing.
It's a meeting.
No, it's not a meeting. No, it's
So
just
I just read the title.
correct. Yeah, or we can, one of us
I
can read
didn't
the
know if there
title.
was some
That's fine.
qualification on what it was, so.
Sorry, I didn't give you a
No, that's
sheet
fine.
on that.
That's
Okay.
fine. Okay, this is an ordinance number ORD 2025-02, amending the Morrow County Comprehensive Plan to change the plan and zone map designations of 1,298 acre parcel from agricultural and space age industrial to industrial, and from exclusive farm use, space age industrial to general industrial, respectively. Number two, adopt a limited use overlay zone to limit use to a data center and farm uses. 3, change the comprehensive plan to zone designation for 1,623 acre parcel from space age industrial to agricultural, and from space age industrial to exclusive farm use, respectively. And number 4, adopt exceptions to statewide planning goals 311 and 14 to allow the establishment and operations of data center use. County file numbers ACM 155-25, AZM 15625, ACM 15725, and AZM 158 21.
One of the longer titles we've had.
I know, it was a,
That's
New
one of the
ones.
longer titles we've had for
I
some.
know.
Well,
there's no short title. Maybe we should start working on a short title, but
Yeah.
Okay, so then you said we need, what else, make sure we got through this, Justin.
Yeah, again, motion to approve the final findings back in the next month, week.
Okay.
Then it want to $20 or same thing they did before, wasn't it? Same
It
findings
is.
overall.
are there problems?
I guess, yeah, the suggested motions are on there, two of them, right?
Correct. That's great.
Do I hear? the
Right.
program?
So on the final findings, I found a couple of minor errors.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want the page number of the finding,
Please.
47.
Okay.
Goal 5, it's number 5, goal 5, and in the response,
Oh, yeah.
third line down. Error reference source not found.
Okay.
And then page 54. And so you're there, so miscellaneous will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth line down. And it starts with need to consider the potential for future increases in traffic. And I would suspect that the word should be on instead of or. And then on the signature page.
I caught that one.
That one's been corrected, but I didn't get the other
Okay.
two.
I like the name though.
I was just wondering if you changed your name.
No,
Okay.
yeah, so for the record, my legal name is August. Gustav is pretty great. Unfortunately, it's not my name, so for my signature, it has to be August.
Okay, and that's prepared
It's
for
gonna be
signature.
Gustav going forward though.
It's a cool name, but it's not mine.
If council's okay, I think we can still prepare, and Valerie's made the signature page change, and I can just make those other changes quickly and bring them back to you.
New moniker for you.
Do I hear motion
Oh.
for final findings?
Proposed change.
The changes?
So I would approve, make the motion to approve final findings for Thermal Canyon Farms, rezone and plan amendments ACM 155 25, AZM 156 25, ACM 157 25, AZM 158 25 with the modifications as laid out.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved, seconded, further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay.
So then, second part here is a motion to adopt ORD 2025 02 for Three Mile Canyon Farms rezone.
Second. Moved and seconded, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
You're next too.
Oh, I am next? Okay, yep.
Okay, next up is appointment to the planning commission.
Yeah, okay, thanks. This is the fun part. So we have just one applicant, but I've heard just great things about her and did have a nice conversation. It's Norma Ayala, okay, thank you. And she's a Boardman resident, excited to say that she's fully bilingual. And I got acquainted with her, as did our compliance planner, because she has a similarly job for the city of Boardman. She's lived there, I think, almost her entire life, has been involved with a variety of other things. She didn't really have a resume ready to share, but I included her name in the packet and some other information about her in the cover sheet.
Okay, any questions from Tamara about the applicant?
Nope. I move to appoint Norma Ayala to the planning commission to serve the remainder of the term held by Andrew Seymour.
Second.
Moved, seconded, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Mhm.
Okay. Next up is 6C, update on strategic plan.
Yes.
Plan director on there.
Yes, Matt Dixon is here. Before I turn it over to Matt, I just want to take a minute and acknowledge the efforts and the the investment that the advisory committee did in stepping up and running these town hall meetings. We had 6 members on that, and I'd just like to acknowledge their names. Several of them are either online or like on here. We have Katie Imus, Joe Perry, Don Russell, Brenda Schockman, Edith Velasco, and Tess Rehak. Each of them were at several of the town hall meetings. They provided great feedback, and I'm sure Matt Dixon will comment, but in the summary meeting that they had, presented a great eye on what the county is, and with their variety of experience and know-how, really were engaged in the process. And I just appreciate, I mean, this is a voluntold position, as Don mentioned, and I know that you had brought those names up, and they just want to say they represented your choices as well as the county very well. And I do appreciate the effort that they've done. And as we transition kind of from their work to your work next week, I'm looking forward to further discussions, and as you fine tune and adopt a strategic vision plan for the county. With that, I'll turn it over to Matt. Are you there, Matt?
I am here. Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, and we have it so you can start your video and share screen as necessary.
Perfect. Well, good to be with you again, commissioners. Good to circle back. It's exciting to see the process continuing to move forward. I appreciate Matt recognizing first and foremost the advisory committee. I echo what Matt said. At the beginning of the process, we asked the commissioners to find some community volunteers that could really lead out and be facilitators of the process, who could be objective and unbiased, and just be able to go out and help gather input from the community and the stakeholders. And I couldn't be more impressed with the 6 individuals that Matt recognized for their efforts. They spent a lot of time traveling around the county, coming to meetings, and so it's been a pleasure to work with each of them. I know I see Dawn in person, and then I see I know Katie, and I saw Brenda joining virtually. There may be others. I don't recognize some of the screen names perhaps, but commissioners, I would like to just do a brief overview. I believe you've been provided a copy of the draft recommendations from the advisory committee. So I don't necessarily intend to read what you've already been provided, but would just like to hit maybe some of the overall highlights, and then would welcome any questions you have as the Board of Commissioners, for myself, or also for any of the advisory committee members who are here. I know they would be more than happy to provide any additional input or clarification on anything. So with that, Matt, can I share my screen?
Sure thing.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. And hopefully you are seeing a PowerPoint.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh boy. All right, let's see. Let me try that again. How about now?
Not yet.
Oh my goodness. What's going on here? Let's go there and there. Did that work? Hey, third time is a charm. I've never been accused of being technologically savvy. Awesome. Well, to get started, I want to just recognize the commissioners from the onset wanted this to be a community-based strategic plan. And I appreciate that that's been the focus of the commissioners, is really wanting to the best of our ability to get out into the community and gather input and feedback from the various stakeholders throughout the community. It's a longer, more difficult process, but in the end, I think you'll appreciate the input from the committee, or sorry, from the committee as well as the community as you get into working on your strategic plan. So we did. There were several meetings held throughout the county. We had 3 that were specifically targeted towards stakeholders, various groups and organizations. We also had 4 public workshops throughout the county through this process. We provided marketing materials in all of the cities, as well as the county did a mailer to all county residents, making them aware of the last 2 public workshops that we held in June. And at the same time, we had a survey open for a couple of months where we were encouraging people to go and answer some questions and provide their input. And I was happy to see that we had 160 responses. I think we could continue to gather additional responses, but there came a time where we had to close the survey to move forward. So we closed it with 160 responses. All of that information then was collected, and the advisory committee met and spent several hours going through and organizing, okay, what are the common messages we've been hearing through these outreach meetings and through the survey? And the main question through all of this has been, and it's listed here on the screen, if you were given the power to do so, what is it that you would change about Morrow County? I feel like that question really gets at the heart of, if you were in charge, what do you think we need to be focused on? What do you think we need to be doing? So the advisory committee met, they've gone through all of this, and what we are presenting before you is a list of their recommendations on potential areas that you as a commission need to be focused on as you look at Morrow County's future for the next 5-10 years. I do acknowledge that during the process, we did our best to communicate to the stakeholders in the community that the county may or may not have the ability to impact some of these areas to the extent they need to be addressed. That the county can only do what it's legally and legally able to do and has the responsibility to do, right? Because let's be honest, the general public, generally, they may not know where the services come from. I just know that there are some improvements that are needed. And so there have been times where we've been hearing things that really may not be within your control as the Board of Commissioners, but we did not want to remove those comments from the data. Just so that you could be aware as the commissioners on what the common messages are, recognizing that if you don't have a lot of ability to make changes or address those things, at least it might be worth your consideration on, well, what can we do, right? Are there some things that we are able to do to help move some of those things forward, although the service might be provided from a special district or other entities. So these have also been arranged, these recommendations, in priority order based on kind of the most common and the loudest kind of messages that we heard, right? So we have prioritized them from the most common to the least common messages as we present these recommendations to the commissioners. And again, I don't intend to go line by line, but I think I'll at least mention the recommendations from the advisory committee. The first one is housing, probably no surprise. And there's listed there, you can see some of the items that were brought up and discussed when it came to housing. The need to provide workforce housing, more affordable housing.
Matt,
And yeah,
have you advanced your screen? We're still seeing the front cover.
interesting. Oh, I thought I was advancing it. What's going on with my technology here? So you could see, am I in presentation mode, or do you just see my slide deck?
Yeah, I did see your slide deck.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Let me stop sharing. I'm gonna try with this one more time in hopes that. Problem is I have 3 screens, and I know I've probably got myself confused on how to share the screen I want shared. So let me. Okay, close out there, and I'm gonna go here. Okay, so that should be the screen. Is that helping?
No, we're not
Okay.
seeing. Sure.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna unplug from my multiple screens. Okay. All right. One more shot, and then commissioners, I may have to just have you refer to the information in your packet. The presentation is in the same order, but let's go one more time at trying to share the right screen. And then do a presentation from the beginning. See if that works. Any changes on your end?
It looks like we're in presentation mode now.
All right. Now let's see if we can advance slides. Here we go. Okay. We covered this information on the community engagement. Housing is the first area of priorities that the messages we were hearing loud and clear from the stakeholders. Second, the advisory committee reduced this down to infrastructure, right? Taking care of the roads, considering the loop, water and sewer improvements, county health building. This is a broad one, but there's a lot of needs and things that we heard that seem to fall under this umbrella of maintaining and or improving various infrastructure throughout the county. Healthy governance. This was certainly a message, looking, interesting note, as a third party outsider coming to the county. It was interesting that we did hear messages about this real or perceived North County versus South County kind of a divide. The interesting thing from my perspective was whether we were in the North or whether we were in the South, people would bring up the issue and say, yeah, but they were also eager and anxious for the county to do what it could do to help improve that, to help the county overcome this divide. So I thought that was encouraging that folks still identify that there is some potential division, but no matter where we were, the common message I heard at least was we need to overcome this. We need to get past this. We need to figure out a way. So I think there's some great opportunity. People seem to be willing and are looking to the county to say, how can you help, right? What are some things you could do? Healthy governance included improved city-county collaboration, transparency, right? That's a buzzword, but just being transparent in how some of the resources in the county are collected, allocated, and making that information more understandable or available to the community. And then, of course, land use and zoning process reforms were some other things we heard. Happy to have anyone interrupt me as I go. If not, I'm just going to keep clicking through. The next area was economic development, right? The need to continue to attract and retain workforce, vocational training, restaurants and entertainment, job creation, small businesses, supporting them, tourism and childcare initiatives, all were put underneath this economic development umbrella. Parks and recreation, looking at recreation facilities, are there needs? Is there a need for new and or renovated recreational facilities? What about youth programs? Parks and trails improvements, continuing to develop and build those out. Recreational space marketing, just really utilizing the amazing recreational opportunities to promote that and to bring in more interest and more activity into the county around the amazing recreational opportunities that you have. And then ADA accessibility upgrades, looking at your facilities to be sure they're ADA compliant, both parks and recreation. Health services, stronger senior communication, better healthcare access. Again, this is one of those areas where, okay, well, what can the county do, right? But nonetheless, these were the messages that we heard. Behavioral health expansion and support for senior centers was also brought up, just ways to continue to support the senior population. County employees and services. The need to be able to attract and retain competent people. Being a local government entity, you are a service provider, and the quality of the services you provide as a county is directly correlated with the quality of people that you're able to attract and retain. And so there's some ideas here under county employees and services, and looking at ways to continue to have a strong county workforce delivering those. All right, that is the summary of the items that the advisory committee is recommending for you as a board of commissioners to consider. I'm going to wrap up by just expressing again, thanks to the advisory committee. Thanks to you as commissioners for selecting amazing people to be involved. I think it was a huge success and well received that the stakeholders and residents could see these volunteers from the county there engaged in helping. These strategic priorities, again, reflect the resident voices. And you really could even boil them down into three more general areas, which is improving quality of life, enhancing government services, and expanding economic opportunity. What's next in the process? These recommendations are now officially in your hands as the Board of Commissioners. Next Monday and Tuesday, you'll have the opportunity to meet with key department representatives from county staff for a 2-day retreat. And that will be your opportunity to take all of this information and then ultimately decide what is the long-term vision for the county and what are the priorities that you need to be focused on for the next 5 to 10 years. I'm going to prep you right now. I've emailed Matt a few documents that he'll be sending out in preparation for the retreat. It's pretty intense work to lock ourselves down for 2 days and build a strategic plan. It's mentally challenging because you're trying to, think long term and what are the priorities. So I'm hoping that these 3 documents that he'll email, really there's some homework there that I'm hoping if everyone who's involved at the retreat will come having filled those out and given some thought to those things, it will really enable us to be more efficient as we work to build the strategic plan. Otherwise, we have to take a lot more time during the retreat to go through these things. And so I'm hoping that this will kind of spark some ideas and get some things going in advance of the retreat to save us time. So look for those and would invite all those involved to please just fill them out there. It's not a lot of homework, but it'll at least help us move forward. After the retreat, the department heads at the county will take the draft plan and build out the lower levels of the plan. Meaning they'll populate, okay, what are some of the projects we need to be doing? What are the tasks? What are the subtasks? What do some of our capital facilities plans suggest our projects need to be in this area or that area, depending on what the county commissioners decide are your priorities. Then we're hoping to have a draft plan ready, August, September timeframe. We'll provide the commissioners an opportunity to provide feedback, of course, with the idea that we'll have a final plan sometime October, November. So those are the steps moving forward. The advisory committee, their work as of today is done. As they turn over these recommendations to you, it's like Matt said, it's now in your hands. You can adopt all of the advisory committee's recommendations, or you can adopt none of them, right? It's now in your hands. You have the opportunity to make those final decisions. But thanks again. I think it's been a successful process so far, and I look forward to spending some time with you next week during the retreat. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will turn it back to you and the commissioners. If you have any questions or comments or would like to hear from any of the advisory committee members, I'm sure they'd be happy to share their thoughts.
So I guess first I want to thank the committee members for volunteering and cleaning the time and doing this. And if it's okay with you too, I guess, we could start with Don and see if he has anything. Then I see that we had at least 2 of the other committee members online and see if they had anything else they wanted to add to it.
I was going to suggest that, so yes.
Sounds good. You want to kick it off, Don?
I would say, and I didn't attend all of the meetings. I attended, I would say, most of the meetings. And I thought they were all pretty productive, and Matt's right, housing came up at every meeting. Either lack of housing or lack of affordable housing, and affordable housing is different today than it was 30 years ago, because it costs a lot more to build a house today than it did 30 years ago. There's some, I guess, communication barriers. The report that I heard today from the special transportation is different than what's out there in the community. Most people in the community don't realize, and I didn't realize till I heard the report today, that the loop is still taking people to doctor's visits out of area. That's not known amongst the seniors that need to go to a specialty provider, either in the Tri-Cities or Hermiston, that there's a way to get there. So, I don't know how we get the word out, but if that's really the case, that my mother can go see her heart specialist over in the Tri-Cities once every 6 months, and the loop will take her there, she needs to know that. I mean, I can tell her that now, but, and then some of the other perceptions out there are with planning. They think that planning is not business friendly. Some of it probably the planning department has some control over, but a lot of it's state law, and the planning department has little control over. I'm talking to Jeff and Dave, who've spent a couple of decades each on the planning commission, and they're more aware of what the planning department can do than I am. And then on how the enterprise zone money gets distributed, there's some concern on that. And maybe there should be better communication, because some programs are available in some communities and not in others. I know there was some, I guess, friction between Boardman and Irrigon, because Boardman's enterprise zone funds for housing and community development are controlled by an economic development group, the BCDA, much like Willow Creek Valley controls the money in Hefner. And the BCDA put some money into youth sports, so families in Boardman didn't have to pay for their child to play Little League if they wanted to. Well, in Irrigon, that wasn't available, and they thought that somehow the county or the enterprise zone committee allocated additional money to Boardman for that. Irrigon, at least when I was a commissioner, they got similar amount of money based on population, and it was up to them how to spend the money, and they're spending it the way they think is best, but it's not the same way that the BCDA does, or WICBID does, or ICABO does. And so people need to know who's in charge of spending the money, and who to petition if they don't think they're spending it well. So I think in the case of Irrigon, unless it's changed, it's still the city of Irrigon is in charge of community development and housing money. And the people of Irrigon don't see that, or don't know that, or at least the people that showed up to the meeting didn't know that. So maybe if there's some communication on this amount of money was, allocated to each one of the groups, it helps. I know from my past experience as a county commissioner, communication is tough. The Hefner Gazette, I think, does a pretty good job in South County on communication, and I don't see anything similar to that in North County. So communication is just a problem. Anyway, that's my report.
Don, I got a question on the CREZ.
Sure.
Were they wondering half the process that the CREZ uses to determine where the money goes, or are they more concerned with the amounts allocated to different groups?
I think they were wondering how the amounts were allocated. And then once the amounts were allocated, like I said, why in the Hefner area do you have a rehabilitation program for old homes where people can get, and I haven't followed these much since I'm not a commissioner anymore, but at one time it was 20% of the cost of rehabilitating an old home, or up to $20,000 maximum. And that program wasn't available anywhere else. But when I was a commissioner, the $5,000 incentive in Boardman, that was modeled after WICBED's initial $5,000 incentive, and it worked well in Boardman. We were getting new construction. And in WICBED, they changed it because they weren't getting any new construction. There are a lot of houses changing hands, but no new construction. So they tried to do something else. And I think that was the idea of things, that, let a local group try and manage the money that's best for their local area. But when you have programs that are available in one part of the county and not the other, and again, I'll go back to the Little League thing. our Boardman and Irrigon play each other in Little League, and kids in Boardman didn't have to pay a fee, a $50 fee or whatever it was to play Little League for the summer, and Irrigon families had to pay that for their children, and they didn't think it was fair.
How much do you think of, well, just kind of going back to the CREZ deal? Because we've always stuck, and I've heard you say it many times on the CREZ, is let's give block grants
Right.
to community organizations and let them sort it out. How much of it do you think is people wanting to change that? Or do you think it's more of a, you think who,
I think
is
they
somebody
just
gonna inform the public on what's?
Yeah, I don't
done?
think they understand how the block grants work. The people that I talked to that showed up for the Irrigon meeting, I thought were well-informed members of the Irrigon community, and they didn't realize how the money was dispersed. And I told them that. I said, you know, proportionately, I mean, at least when I was there, we dispersed the money based on population. So Irrigon got the same dollar amount for the people that lived in their zip code as Boardman did, as at the time Willow Creek Valley Economic did for the rest of the county. And so if you're allocated $10 a person, you're allocated $10 a person. And how you spent that money was really up to the people in Irrigon, and they didn't know that.
Well, do you think when it gets down to formulating a strategic plan and they go, okay, we don't like the fact that, or, you know, we don't like the fact that Hepner has a plan to give rehabilitation houses. We think Boardman should have one too. Do you think formulating the strategic plan should be more of informing the people on how it's done, or trying to change it so that
I think it's
Boardman would get, you see what I'm
I
saying?
think it's informing the people on how it's done. Just let them.
And just let the process go the way it's been done.
I think people in Boardman, at least from my perspective, the $5,000 home buyer incentive was working well in Boardman. It wasn't working that well in Hepner. But the rehabilitation project, where you could get up to $20,000, I thought that they had real movement on that. And a lot of old houses that really weren't very livable became livable, and people were spending more than the $20,000, you know, more than $100,000 to upgrade these houses that they got a $20,000 rebate for them. I mean, I thought that was great. You know, let's do what works in your community.
Yeah, but as far as the people, I mean, is that within the goal of the strategic plan to explain all this to people?
I don't know if that's the goal within the strategic plan. I mean, I heard a lot of stuff at these meetings that were probably not in the goal of the strategic plan. You know, all three of the communities in South County have got sewer problems. Lexington's still on individual septic tanks. Ione is transitioning off individual septic tanks. And Hepner's got, you know, needs upgrades on their sewer system. And it's difficult when you have 10,000 people to share that cost. It's almost impossible when you've only got 300 or 400 people to share that cost. Because cost doesn't go down exponentially just because you're smaller. You still have to have the plant and operate it. And I think, you know, for those communities to increase population or maintain population, they probably need some help with sewer systems. If I were the smart guy in the room, I would have figured it out. You guys have got a lot more enterprise zone money to distribute now than we had when I was there.
Well, it's not you guys.
Yeah, well, it's the county.
We're a member of a
Right,
group.
you're a member.
So
Right.
the county and the enterprise zone can't be melded together. They're two separate, you know, we're
Right.
one.
You're one member of the group, yeah.
Voices
But,
on
so I guess just the communication on how the process works, and you'll still get people that, you know, unless the process works perfect for you, you're going to complain about it. So you're still going to get people that complain, but at least they'll know what to complain about now. Right now, they're just complaining that Boardman got free Little League and Irrigon didn't, as an example.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So,
Chairman Sykes?
Yes, Matt?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on your question to Dawn about, how is this reflected in a strategic plan? And the, the way that would come about would be, you know, um, whether it's a communication issue, whether it's a transparency issue, ultimately you as a Board of Commissioners will be tasked to say, what are our focus areas? What are our priorities? And if one of those general buckets of areas of priority were communication or transparency, right? Then the plan would boil down to, okay, what can we accomplish in the next 5 years around this? Well, we need to communicate more clearly to the community how these funds are distributed or how allocated. So that's how the plan would cascade down to the level of how do we address the Boardman versus Irrigon Little League confusion, right? During the retreat, you won't necessarily be tasked with diving into those issues in the mud like that, but you will be asked to say, do you think transparency and communication needs to be one of your top priorities? If so, great. Then we'll figure out where you want to make improvements in those areas. And that's where the details will eventually come out to say, yeah, we need to improve our newsletter or our website or whatever the mechanisms will be or the projects will be. So I hope that's helpful.
Okay, so basically, it's gonna boil down to what we as a county government can do in these areas. We're not trying to develop a plan that would tell other organizations, recommend to them to improve their communication or, so it's maybe yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, you could have an initiative that says we want to improve our collaboration with entity such and such to improve communication, right? So you could at least commit to doing what you can do as a county, recognizing that ultimately, if it's not under your control, you might not be able to move the needle, right? But if you're willing to do what you can do as commissioners to influence some change in some of those areas, you may want to include something like that in your plan.
Okay, got it.
As another example, Dave, the turn lanes on Highway 730, that was brought up primarily in the Irrigon group. And for safety reasons, they'd like to see turn lanes in multiple places between Irrigon and Umatilla and the Umatilla County line. I think that's reasonable. But I pointed out to them that that's a state highway and the state's in charge of that. And all the county can really do is lobby the state to try and get that done. Again, these are, I guess, communication errors or people just not understanding the system. They think, God, I pay my property taxes every year. The road in front of my house should be.
Yeah, but at some point, I mean, like we helped on the latest fire map thing. I mean, that's a state thing.
Right.
But we did what we could to try to lobby to get that changed. So knowing what is the people are concerned about, we can put efforts in those areas. We may not be directly under our control, but we can be aware that, hey, maybe we can contact as a group, that's just an example,
Yeah.
But you don't know that without hearing from the public.
Right.
Even though it's not
Yeah.
directly something we would sit and make a motion on. I mean, it's not directly under our control. We could support something that might accomplish that goal. Does that make?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff is not under your control, the concerns that they've got. I don't know how we make housing cheaper than $200 a square foot to build, because that seems to be the cost to build it anymore.
Well, I'd love to hear from some of our other members who are online, if there's anybody who wants to share anything.
Katie's there.
All right.
Well, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on this committee. It's been really a privilege. And I just really my main comment to you guys this morning would be to encourage you guys here for one to do this process. It's not an easy process. And it sounds like next week you guys will be meeting for a retreat, and it's going to take a lot of brain power. And by the end of the process, you're going to be tired. And it's not it's not an easy thing. I just went through a strategic plan for the Lexington Community Development Group, and we're still working on that. And it takes a lot of brain power, and it also is, you're going to have hard conversations and really sift through this data that the community has brought forth to you. I really like what I hear from Matt about, staying within what you can control, right? And then also executing the transparency and communication piece with the public. I think when I was in those meetings, one of the things that comes up a lot was, the money that is coming into the county, like being transparent with that and the process of how that money is being allocated, and what the framework and the criteria is for that money. Those are huge things for the public to understand if they want to understand. So, again, that's stuff that you guys will sift through next week and throughout the following months. But I just want to encourage you that this is such a foundational step for Morrow County, and the improvements and the direction that you guys want to go as a body. And if ever you have any questions, I know we're done at this point, but if you ever have any questions, because sometimes you look at a piece of paper and you look at what has been identified, but like you want to know more. You want to be like, what does that mean? Right? And feel free to contact me. I would be more than happy to talk a little bit more one-on-one. So I just encourage you guys, keep going, and I think good things are to come.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Katie?
No.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
It was mentioned that we had two advisory members.
Brenda was up there.
Brenda was on there.
Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay. Brenda, did you want to make some comments? Is she unmuted?
I'm not unmuted.
Oh, just unmuted you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can't get my camera to work, so you may have to just stare at the little figurine there. Again, thank you for including me in on this journey that we've taken. It was a very eye-opening experience. I was really, I had a feeling we knew what was going to come up in the meetings, but there were some other things that came up that were kind of surprising. The unity across the Morrow County was probably one of the biggest things we heard over and over. So whatever we can do to bring our counties together, whether that be focusing on encouraging members from, I don't know, Ione or Hepner, Boardman to go and join in on, even if it's just the little festivals that come up, making that a priority to advertise or let people know that, these communities are doing things and everybody's welcome. The transparency was the other big issue I hear. And as a chamber director, I hear that a lot in my office is, where are these monies? How are they being allocated? Where are they going? What is the process to get some of these funds out into the public? Those were the big issues that I took away from this. I can't really think of anything else. You guys have all covered everything that I had been thinking of. Again, just like Katie said, if you have any questions, want more information, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss what we talked about and in these forums that we did. I want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. It was a very educational experience and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Okay, I guess, if you got any more questions of Matt or anybody have any more, any of the commissioners have any comments before we, move on and have our retreat next week? Any closing yeah?
No, just again, thank you to them for doing the process and then taking the time to show up today and provide your insight as to what happened.
There, just to let you know, there were a couple members who wanted to come but had previous engagements. So the investment by this group, I cannot overstate that. It's been impressive, so appreciate it.
Any last closing comments, Matt?
No, just thanks to everyone and I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Okay, thank you. Next up with that, we have our county surveyor contract, Point County Land Surveying, Matt.
Yes, we have the county surveyor. We previously had this contract for a couple of years. It is expiring. Actually is July 1st of this year. We have our finance group and contracting has put together a new contract using a new form, and has reviewed with Matt Kinney that on that. It establishes the same rate that we've been using the last few years, but does incorporate a CPI increase just to consideration for expenses and the cost of living and such. Matt Kinney has been a great resource, does his job and is very responsive when the county calls in on him. And we would ask for the Board of Commissioners, as this is an appointed position by the governing body, to consider renewing the authorizing the contract with Matt Kinney and authorizing me to sign the contract if you're all right with that.
Yeah. Questions of Matt or?
I move to appoint Kenny Land Surveying as the county surveyor per ORS 204.005 and authorize the county administrator to sign the contract.
Second.
Moving second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion carried. Okay,
So I see Matt's online. I just want to thank him for working, starting the ball rolling with Stephen to do that GIS survey project. I think that's a big benefit for the county. So thank you, Matt, for your involvement getting that started.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I'm still here. And I appreciate, the board and you, Matt, for everything that you do. And also to Sandy, she helped out a lot with getting this updated, Sandy Pointer. So appreciate her. And yeah, Steven's been doing a great job. He's, I reached out to him, but he's really, the work that he's put in on that is just fantastic. And also thanks to Tamara, for letting him spend his time on that. So yeah, thank you all.
okay, thank you. Next up would be our correspondence. So we've got one listed, Vietnam Veterans Memorial, Irrigon Capital. You've had a chance to look at that.
I think that was great that they sent out that letter and that little certificate for what we'd done before. Just that was a nice gesture on their part.
Yeah,
Agreed.
they didn't have to do it. They did. Let us know that it came through. Any other correspondence, Valerie? Did you get anything else?
That was it.
Okay. Commissioner reports, Jeff, you want to start off on that?
I don't know that I have anything other than, I guess, just to follow up with what Matt was talking about with the CDA thing, I know multiple times I've told Greg to make sure to loop in Kevin and Matt for any invoices that he's sent. So, as far as I know, CDA hasn't invoiced us for anything. So whatever the discussion was at the board meeting, I'm not sure where that came from. They talked about some stuff, but as far as actually doing anything, and again, I told Greg to make sure that Kevin and Matt, the people that will actually cut the check, get the email and the invoice. That's all I got.
Okay. What about you, Gus? Yeah, you know.
Well, yeah, I've just got a couple of things, on the CDA thing. I think it seems to be too often that meetings get canceled, and I would suggest next time that a meeting does happen, that perhaps we make it official that the group meets monthly, so that things that need to be addressed can be addressed, and if you have to have a short meeting, great, but just seems like we're in this space where things get dropped through the cracks too often. So that's that, and then I would really love to see a CREZ 3 meeting soon, particularly since Joe Taylor's no longer on it. I'd like to get us to the point where we can, I don't think we have a chair anymore, because he was the chair, right? So I just would like to see those things happen. And that's my report.
Okay. I agree about Chris 3 because we can't pay any bills until we get a chair.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Although we slipped the last one through, I got him to sign the last payment order on the 30th, and that was his last day. So I told Marta, I says, can you get him in there before, so we don't get hung up here? So anyway, yeah, but we do need to do that. So, okay. Guess that's all. Any other business come before the commission? We'll be adjourned. Oh, well. No, just the announcement, we have the land use hearing. No, not the land use hearing, the appeal at 1:30. So anybody who would like to attend that, it will be on Zoom. Okay, we're adjourned. See all you guys.